I think we've just pushed that boundary a little bit, haven't we? So any questions or comments from the floor? We're also reacting. Oh, yes, there's one back there. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to ask a question in relation to the use of pesticides. You indicated that there is a shift to use of pesticide because we don't have labor, the shortage of labor. We all know that in Africa, population is a real problem, and we think there is some labor, and again, we may say that these people, young men and others, are going to cities and all these places, but we don't think all of them are there. So they should be in the rural and doing some agricultural activities or somewhere there. I don't know your experience in relation to your presentation. How is it? Where are these people, all this population, where are they and what are they doing? Because I think they are there.
We've got time for maybe one more answer to one more question, if there's one. They're right here, there, and then we'll, yeah.
Yeah, I want to agree with him that youth labor are actually in the rural areas. It is just that we are not concentrating on them. We are talking about sending youth from town back to the farm, but we haven't gone out to the communities there to really find out who are the youth there whom we can support. And I think that has been the problem. But my real contribution was on the health, the mental health. I'm very, very happy that you brought that up, because we had a situation where, not actually from, but from Agric itself, through loans, through giving credit. You give credit to farmers, especially women. For some reason, they cannot pay. And it looks like that's affecting their mental health. I don't know too much, I'm not a medical person, but at least I know of a situation where somebody committed suicide because he got a loan from an NGO, and the NGO normally gives loan in kind and tries to get the produce back. And when he realized that what he produced couldn't pay the loan, and the NGO was insisting that he must pay, he just had to commit suicide. So these are the kinds of things that I believe even our activities at agriculturists are causing mental health to people, especially in the rural areas, and particularly women. So I was really very happy that you brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the objective of this exercise is not maybe to deeply explain, is just to tell you that if you are in agricultural extension, don't look at only productivity. Look at also inside the household what is happening, their social life. Sometimes you can find a lot that come, or the impact of your intervention on the people, and it's becoming a very big problem, the mental health, which we are not seeing. If you don't go to the communities, ask, you will not be able to see. In Europe, it's very easy to go to the psychiatric to expose your problem, but in Africa, rarely we have this kind of situation, and people just interiorize their problem, and they end up developing other diseases due to stress and things. Coming back to the label, I think from here I did not catch very well. If you look at herbicide, we are using the indicator of the quantity of herbicide to see how much labor people have. And when you go into the household, you will find out those who are using a lot of herbicide, those are the household where they have less people, less manpower. So having that indicator, you can guess that this household, with the cost of herbicide, with the shortage of labor, at the end, the yield will be too small to sustain their living. This is the explanation we want to give here. And the same thing applies to insecticide. They don't make no effort to understand what kind of insecticide to use, because there are also lack of knowledge and lack of training, as it has been said this morning.
Right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
I think you've broadened the agenda a bit, and I'm hoping in future Academy meetings we'll see more and more thinking about the agriculture, nutrition, and health interaction. Thanks again.
Welcome.
So, this now is coming to the close of our Academy Week, and we're going to have a few remaining things to do. First of all, I'd like to invite Rachel Lambert up to join me and to say a few words about from DFID, who are the major funder of our activities here through Amana. Or you can stay down there. Let's both stay down here. No, I got the prizes up here. I'll stay up here. Go ahead.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. I think this has been another really amazing Academy. I know for some of you it's the first time. A few of you may have been for all three. Put your hands up if you've been at all three. A very small group. People who've been at two? Quite a big group, and the rest are newcomers, so welcome. It's been a fantastic event, and I just want to share with you some of the figures, because I think they're quite amazing. So we've had 380 participants from 52 countries. Earlier in the week, we had 20 learning labs with 300 participants, and 20 organisations or projects helped organise those, facilitate them, and put in a huge amount of effort to make them a big success. We've had 75 speakers and 68 posters, and I think you'll agree that the quality of those has been amazing. I think the quality goes up each year of the presentations. And if you're not aware, there is a very high bar to get selected through a competitive process to do a presentation. So that's a fantastic achievement. I think we've seen a huge diversity of the people who are involved in presenting and speaking, and I think that's been a very deliberative attempt by the organisers to make sure that it's not just the same old faces, that we really allow space for newer researchers and younger career researchers to come into this space, and I think that's really important and being part of a kind of very inclusive approach that is the Academy. I think this year we've seen again some fantastic innovations in terms of encouraging people to present in innovative ways and in different ways, and that's been brilliant as well, and the energy in the room has been great. We've also been privileged to have some excellent keynote speakers. It was really exciting to have Jan talking about biofortification in her role as one of the World Food Prize winners from last year, and almost at the same time this year's World Food Prize winners were announced, David Nabarro and Lawrence Haddad. And I think that's also really exciting because they've been amazing leaders and champions of the use of evidence and pushing the nutrition agenda forward and putting it right in the centre of the development agenda. So I think that's been very exciting as well. I think I spoke to a few participants over the last few days to get a sense of how you were feeling, and I heard some very consistent messages. I heard that people really value the interdisciplinary nature of what we're doing here. I heard that you've learnt a lot and that people have had fun doing that. Lots of connections have been made, and a number of people said they felt really inspired. So I think that's fantastic. We look forward to getting your thoughts and your evaluations, as Sunita said earlier. I think for us in DFID, the Academy is proving to be a very kind of powerful way to harness different groups together, whether that's policymakers, researchers, practitioners, and to bring us together and bring together different disciplines around new metrics, new data, and new evidence. And I think it's probably unique in that. I said that last year and nobody's challenged me yet. There are other global networks of scientists, and probably as big as this, but I'm not sure that there are any that are as interdisciplinary as this one, and I think it's really valuable in that, and there's some really important lessons coming out of that as well. If you look back at the last 7 years of research in this area, but certainly the last 3 years of the Academy, I think there's been a really significant shift and evolution in the field. Part of that shift is from kind of field-based farm production to value chains and to more market-based approaches, and to a focus on policies and climate links. We've seen a real growth in work on animal source foods, and maybe a little bit slower, but also fruit and veg. That wasn't here a few years ago. This year I think we've seen a real growth of research and outputs around the food environment, and some really important insights around that area, around food safety. And a really much stronger emphasis on metrics, and it's been fantastic to see the Amana grants and grantees come through on that. I think gender issues have moved up kind of much more front and centre than where they were a few years ago. I don't know if you'd agree, Jeff. And I think that's been really important. We're seeing much deeper understanding of the links between women's empowerment and nutrition, and really practical ways of measuring that in the field. I think we need more, though, to broaden that from just gender to other forms of social exclusion, and things like disability need to start to come in there as well. I think there was a fantastic panel on ethics, and that's the first as well for the Academy. I think that's a really neglected area in this field of research, and I think again there's probably more that we could look at there, particularly around safeguarding issues, and issues around sexual violence and abuse, and what the linkages are there. So maybe that's a challenge for us for next time. But I think the biggest shift for me, and one of the things that's been really rewarding to see, has been the sort of the bouncing onto the scene of the drivers of food choice as an approach, as a way of framing things, bringing in a real focus on behavioural issues and things that are affecting choices at the individual and the household level. And I think that's a really exciting new area of work, and it's been reflected throughout. It was in the learning labs, it's in the plenary, it's been in many of the posters, and it's really exciting to see the quality and diversity of work that's happening there. There are possibly a few years that we could think about focusing on a little more next year. I think one area for us that we'd really like to see is a greater focus still on that issue around private sector, and how do you engage with the private sector. In agriculture, we're kind of used to dealing with the private sector, with a whole range of different players. I think it's more sensitive and it's more difficult in nutrition, and practitioners are really grappling with what do we mean by engaging with the private sector on nutrition issues. How do we engage with them to scale effective approaches and to scale effective technologies, but how do we deal with the downside risks? And I think we need more evidence, and we need more insights on that. A second area that I think it would be great to see more of in the future would be around conflict and fragility, and the implications for food systems and nutrition. Looking at the interlinkages with migration, for example, there has been less on that, and we all know that that's a huge issue, and we're seeing increasingly kind of poor people concentrated in areas that are affected by conflict and fragility. And I think, as I mentioned before, that kind of broadening of gender issues to a wider set of social exclusion. So I think it's been a really stimulating, it's been really fun, it's been a very action-packed few days. You're probably all exhausted. None of this would be possible without the huge amount of work that's gone on behind the scenes. Joe did a great job thanking everyone this morning, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I do just want to say one thing about the organisation, and that it's sort of quite deliberately, it's not outsourced to a conference organiser. It's kind of kept in-house within the Amana team and that set of partners who have been so important to making the Academy work. And I think that's probably a strength, and it's why it maybe works and is successful as it is, and because it's kept in-house with people who understand research, and I think that's quite an important thing. I also just want to recognise that there have been a large number of side events, some of them organised by funders like DFID, and that has been an added complexity for the organisers, definitely. It's been great to have that networking opportunity, but we recognise that it's given the team a bit of a headache at times. So finally, I just want to say a very big thank you to the Amana team and for all of those partners who've been involved in organising it, particularly to Sunita and Joe, who have done another fantastic job, super efficient and completely unflappable. I'm sure you'll all agree with me. So a big thank you and a big round of applause for them and for yourselves for a great conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Now, I'm going to ask Rachel to join me up here because we have a bit of fun, a bit of prize giving coming. But while she does that, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Hannah Erforth, who's going to announce a meeting after this meeting.
Thanks. The very last side event. So I just wanted to say there are many of you who already know this information who are members of the Ag to Newt community of practice. If you're not, Google it, Ag number 2, Newt, N-U-T. And this is a community of practice which many of you are part of and which we collaborate quite a bit with A&H Academy. It's a community to bring together people working on the linkages between agriculture and nutrition, and really as a forum for people to connect across institutions. And this global community practice has about 6,000 members across 125 countries or so. And one of the great collaborations we've had with the A&H Academy is came about very organically 2 years ago when the Academy Week was in Ethiopia. The Ag to Newt members from Ethiopia decided they wanted to join together while everybody was in the same room and form an Ag to Newt Ethiopia group so that they could connect across universities in Ethiopia, institutions, and discuss matters pertaining to the country and events and jobs in the country. They've had quite a lot of success in even things like curriculum revision across universities so that students are better trained in linking agriculture and nutrition, as an example. So here, we want to try to see if there's interest in replicating that for an Ag to Newt community in Ghana or in Nigeria. I know there's interest from those two countries, potentially in other countries where people have an interest to form a country Ag to Newt community, or potentially a regional West Africa group. So that meeting is in this room over at the end of the hall where the presentations have been directly following, and if you're interested, please come by just for an hour or so.
Thank you, Anna. I'll take that, thanks. So, a little bit of closure is to have some prizes. So, Rachel and I are going to award the prizes. The procedure we're going to follow for the 3 prizes we have, the best poster, the best presentation, and the best photo contest, or the photo contest winner, is that we've got winners and runners-up. Now, if it just so happens that the winner isn't here, we're going to give that prize to the runner-up. Okay? And so on down the scale, okay? Which is an incentive to stay around to the last moment, okay? Because it's all a bit of fun, you know? I think one thing to say at the outset is, what a fantastic set of presentations, what a fantastic set of posters, a really hard decision. All of you who voted, thank you for doing that. I'm sure you would agree with me that we've all seen some really great stuff. Vote-wise, however, the best poster, the number 1 goes to Poster 47 by Simon Passarelli, called, thank you. I'm sorry, Simone Pastorelli. It's my eyes, they're getting old. I'll just remind you, it was on Father's Nutrition Knowledge Associated with Household, Women's, and Child Diversity, Dietary Diversity in the Agriculture and Nutrition Study in Ethiopia. Thank you. Simone. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say this submission was actually from my colleague, Ramya Ambikapati, so whatever this is, I'll make sure to share it with her. Thank you.
The runner-up for the best poster is poster 40 by Aurelia Ndiwa. Aurelia's poster was on improving nutrition, health, and environmental conversation through local biodiversity in Busia County. Congratulations.
This is for BFN Team Kenya. Thank you.
Great. So this is the best presentation prize. Since the number of people who voted varied by day, the winner is the presenter who got the highest proportion of total votes cast on the day that they presented. So the first prize goes to Sarah Young for development and testing of a household water insecurity measure. She here? She's here.
Obviously not Sarah Young.
Oh, sorry. Are you going to take?
But I'm her PhD student and the only nutrition PhD student right now. So can I take it for her?
So. I think
Yeah? Okay.
Can we accept it, Jeff? I think we can.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well done. And the second prize goes to Francis Ador for Does Caregivers' Nutritional Knowledge and Attitudes Mediate Seasonal Shifts in Children's Dietary Patterns? Well done, Francis.
Okay, thank you everyone who voted for me, and this is for the whole team that worked on this project.
And last but not least, we have a winner of the photo contest, which I'm about to reveal. Is there Anastasia Ofori-Atta. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
You want to speak on behalf of your subjects?
Okay, so this is for all the volunteers for ANH 2018.
So that really does bring us to the end of this Academy Week. So one or two comments at the end. First of all, the success of this Academy depends on your participation, and I'm thinking particularly on your feedback. As Joe mentioned, you'll be getting some feedback forms shortly, very shortly, I think, and it's really important that you give us your views on what went well, what didn't go well, how we might improve it. The changes that you've seen this year from last year were the direct result of the feedback from last year's participants. It's your meeting, so please help us shape it. The next thing I wanted to say is that I hope that what you've learned here and the context that you've made will be of value to you over the coming year. And remember, there's a lot more to the Academy than our annual meetings. Participate in the other activities that you can find on the Academy site. And if you're not a member of the Academy, what earthly reason do you have for that? So please join, and then you can come to the next Academy meeting, which we'll be holding again in South Asia next year. Details to follow soon. So see you at the ANH Academy 2019, and safe travels home.